Cold email isn't dead, but most people's deliverability is. The problem isn't your copy or your lead list. You cannot get a reply simply because you're not landing in the primary inbox. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix your deliverability and always land in the primary inbox, not the spam folder. You see, I've sent thousands of emails and I consistently get a 5% reply rate. That's why I'll cover everything I do via domains and mailboxes, what I do with email copy, sequence management, and metrics to ensure the best results for cold email possible. So let's fix your cold email setup step by step. Starting off with domains and mailboxes, and we'll have like 30 tips total. So first, what we have is the top level domains. Whenever you're buying domains, you should buy top level domains, and this should be your secondary domain. You shouldn't use primary. So for example, what I'm saying is when you buy domains, you should go for .com domains, .co domains. This is like second tier. The best is .com, of course, .net. If you're targeting Germany or UK, you can go .co.uk or D whatever, right? Most of the time, you'll want to use .com domains. This is the best top level domain that everyone uses. It has the best reputation. And you should buy those top level domains from reputable registrars. So you have registrars like GoDaddy, Mailforge, right? You should never go for Namecheap. Namecheap is awful for reputation, awful for deliverability, awful for everything. So don't use that. Now, second are DNS records. You of course want to set up your DNS records properly for the domains that you got. This means DMARC, SPF, and SPF doesn't mean sunscreen or whatever protection, right? DKM. Now these records kind of show proof that you're a real person in the eyes of email service providers, right? You can set them up yourself. It might take an hour or two, or if you use providers like Mailforge, PrimeForge, InfoForge, it will be all set up for you automatically. But this video isn't a tutorial of those tools, so check out other videos if you want to. Carrying on, domain forwarding. Of course, if you buy secondary domains, which you should, all of them should forward to your primary domain, right? So you, for example, have your primary domain, whatever it is, withbreeze.com, right? Your secondary domains could be getwithbreeze.com. And whenever someone goes to this domain, they should get redirected to this domain. Or what you can do is domain masking proxies, which also increases the deliverability. And what happens with SSL domain masking proxies is that whenever someone goes to this website, they'll see the content of this website. They will not get redirected, which again, in the eyes of email service providers like Gmail and Outlook, looks better because they see that the domain isn't redirecting anywhere, right? We're optimizing everything for these email service providers because what they do is they try to save their users from spam. So if anything triggers the spam filters, they're like, no, you go to spam, right? So we're doing everything to avoid that. Now, another thing you should keep in mind of is mailbox and sending limits. So whenever you create domains, you should have like 2 to 3 mailboxes per domain, right? Per domain, and send out 20 warm-up emails and 30 cold emails per domain. You shouldn't go more than that unless you have private infrastructure and you have amazing reputation, but most of the time you shouldn't exceed these limits if you want to maintain great deliverability. Carrying on, mailbox rotation, right? So whenever you're sending out, whenever you make a sequence, you create a sequence, you should always turn on mailbox rotation. Basically what this does is, for example, for campaign, you connect 10 mailboxes and it will rotate them and use each mailbox randomly, right? So in the end, you split the stress across all of the 10 mailboxes. Instead of one mailbox doing full capacity first, then the second one, you're not exhausting your mailbox, if you could say like that. So use a sending software that has mailbox rotation. Randomized sending times, of course, this is something you should keep in mind as well. You should choose an email sending software that doesn't just blast emails right at once, right? You should have an increments of 2 to 5 minutes between an email sent per mailbox, right? Again, domain health check. This is something you should do as well. You should always conduct domain health checks. So you should see if you're in any of domain blacklists. The major ones are Barracuda and Spamhaus, right? If you're not in them, then you're good to go. If you are in these domain blacklists, simply spin up new domains and mailboxes, right? Now, domain health check also includes checking out your domain reputation, right? All of that good stuff. Your mailbox placement, which we could add as an additional step, mailbox placement tests. So what placement tests do is send out like sample emails to various mailboxes, and then you see whether or not you land in the primary inbox. If you do not, there are issues. If you do, good, you can carry on, right? So you should do these regularly. You can do them with apps like WarmForge or whatever else apps you use, right? Email warm-up. Of course, this is crucial. You should warm up for 2 weeks before you send out any cold emails. Everything should be warmed up, all of your mailboxes, right? And then you should keep warm up on for as long as you're sending out cold emails. You should never turn it off, right? You should have it on. You should have unspam feature. Use a warm up provider that has an unspam feature and other stuff. And if you do this, your domain and mailbox reputation will be flawless, unless you make mistakes further on here. That's why we're going on to talk about email copy. Now, email copy is basically the content you send to your prospects, right? That's the stuff you write, the stuff you attach, whatever it is. First thing is to not send any links, any attachments. Yeah, so you shouldn't send calendar links. You shouldn't send any link at all. Like what we suggest is, for example, in your signature, do not say your website like this. Instead, what you should do is do like this, add a space, or say with Breeze, right? Like this. You do not want to add any links because that hurts the deliverability. Same goes with any attachments like images or GIFs, right? Or videos, looms, right? Do not send anything like that because any attachments hurt your deliverability. You should always go as plain text only. This means you should turn off any open rate tracking, turn off link click tracking, because everything, all of these stuff, like these tracking, they add a pixel to basically let you know whenever your email is open, and that hurts deliverability. Everything, all of these attachments make it harder for you to land in the primary inbox, right? So delete all of this stuff, send plain text only, don't add links, don't add images or GIFs. Don't add looms. You can do that in the follow-ups once your email has already landed in the primary mailbox, right? But don't do that in the initial email. Another thing, remove spam words, right? You don't need any spam words in your copy. That goes on without saying. Use some spam checker, right? So the words are highlighted and just delete them, like money, sale, 100% off, whatever, free. All of these are spam words. They are used by scammers, by spammers. So when Gmail sees these words, they think, oh, you're one of them, you're a spammer as well. Especially if you're just starting out, you don't have reputation built up, right? These words, not good. Delete them. Simple as that. Use synonyms, right? It shouldn't be as hard, right? Just remove them. Another thing, don't overuse emojis. Probably don't even use them at all. You don't need to. You're not you're not in 2014 Facebook chats, right? Don't overuse them. You're not using a ChatGPT written copy, right? Who does that? Who does this? No one. One smiley face is enough, right? Another thing, spin tags. You should spin tags all of your emails. So every email sent is unique. That is, if you don't use AI personalization feature, which writes unique emails for each recipient. Now, if you don't do that, you should spin tags at least 50% of your email copy. What I suggest is to spin tags everything, literally everything. So you're sending out unique emails, because if you're sending out templates, again, Gmail will see that you send the same identical email to various prospects, and they know it's spam. They know it's spam, right? You won't land in the primary inbox. Simple as that. Same with custom variables. Add custom variables, right? Like use first name of the prospect instead of just, hey, whatever, right? So you want to make sure each email you send is different from the last. Each email is unique. Don't mislead, right? Again, this is kind of like writing copy suggestion, right? Don't mislead. Don't say pizza delivery in the subject line. You'll get opens and you'll get marked as spam, right? Don't mislead people. Simple as that. Limit subject line to 4 words. Well, this is you can get creative. You can break this rule, right? But usually anything more than that hurts the deliverability, or doesn't hurt the deliverability itself, but people just don't read it, right? Keep it simple, keep it scannable, right? So people can scan and see, because they don't read each subject line in the inbox they get one by one. No, they just see through, okay, this one is interesting, I'll open that one up. Again, this is a rule that can be broken, but pay attention. Keep emails from 20 to 7 words, right? Any more than that, people will probably not read first thing, and it's too much to send. You're hurting deliverability, right? Like, when's the last time you got a paragraph and you sat there reading it like this? No. Your prospects are busy people. They get hundreds of emails a day, 50 pitches a day, you know, salespeople. They won't, you're no different than other salespeople, but you have to be. You have to stand out. Save the time for your prospect. Make your email scannable and short to consume. If it's a paragraph, think about it. If you got 10 paragraphs from 10 different people, would you read it? No, you wouldn't. You don't care, right? Same here. Keep emails short. Run A/B test, right? So for everything, you should run A/B tests. You should always be testing something new, iterating, improving, right? So for example, subject line, I said 4 words max. Perhaps you should run an A/B test. Maybe you have an amazing idea. Maybe you don't believe me and create a subject line to limit 4 words and create another one, I don't know, 10 words. You'll see for yourself that the shorter one performs better. But again, you cannot trust me. Maybe your niche is different. So run A/B tests always. You should always be testing. Maybe test a templated email versus a templated email plus an icebreaker, AI generated icebreaker, and versus a fully AI written email. See which one of those works better, right? Which one has better deliverability, which one has better reply rate, so on and so forth. Send unique copy. This is what I said when I was talking about spin tags, right? Each email should be unique. This is super easy to do if you use AI hyper personalized cold emails, right? Emails that are personalized to each prospect based on your product and data and buyer data like their LinkedIn profile or website, and it increases deliverability, and not just that, it increases reply rate because it's personal, right? Another thing, be specific, right? So in your copy, you shouldn't be vague. You should share tangible results. So for example, I'll get you clients. That's not tangible at all. That's not specific at all. What you should say is like, I'll book 30 meetings in 2 weeks, or you don't pay. You could say like that, right? This is tangible. I know what 30 meetings for me would do. For me, I could close half of them in 2 weeks. Amazing, you know? I know exactly when I'll get these results, how long it will take. Now, I'll get you clients is not specific. I don't care about that. I care about the end result. 30 meetings. I don't care about how many emails you will send for me. If all of them go to spam, if you're selling me something, you know, cold emails, you'll send cold emails for me. I don't care. I care how many actually clients I'll be able to sign from it, right? That's what I care. Another thing, soft CTAs. Most people use hard CTAs. They come in there and beg, book a call. Do you have 20 minutes next Tuesday? Right? These are hard CTAs. Again, remember, those people we are reaching out to, they're busy people. They don't have 20 minutes to everyone. They are asked for this 5 times, 20 times a day. If they gave up 20 minutes to everybody, they wouldn't have any more time. They would have an extra second job, 9 to 5, just in meetings, sales calls where they know they'll get pitched. So instead, use CTAs to start conversations, right? So is this relevant to you? You know, can I send over some resources or whatever it is? Just use CTAs to start a conversation, because sale doesn't happen in the initial email. It happens on the sales call whenever you have a relationship built up. So start a conversation. Ask them, are they the right person to reach out to? Is this relevant to them? Or do they even suffer with the pain point you mentioned? Whatever it is, don't use hard CTAs, use soft CTAs, soft call to actions. Carrying on, sequence management, right? So this is your copy, you have it all done, you have follow-ups, everything going on well, right? Your DNS records infrastructure is set up. Your sequences. So for example, minimum delay. Between your follow-ups, you should wait 2 to 3 days. You should send as maximum of 2 to 3 follow-ups itself. Like nothing, no more than that is useful. You would rather reach out to new prospects than send out cold emails as follow-ups to all the prospects. There's no reason to send out so many follow-ups. The risk of getting marked as spam and the chance of getting a reply, the ratio changes, right? The chances of you getting marked as spam if you send out more follow-ups increases, while the chance of getting a reply actually decreases, right? You should still send follow-ups. A lot of replies come from follow-ups, but you shouldn't spam your prospect, right? 2 to 3 follow-ups is enough. Carry on, go to another prospect. Whatever happens, if they don't reply, reach out to them after 6 months. DNC list, right? If someone says, you know, does this, middle fingers, and says, don't contact me ever again, put them in the DNC list. You don't want to reach out to them ever again, because if you do, they will, of course, mark you as spam, and that's not good, right? So keep a DNC list. Upload all of your competitors there so they don't mark you as spam. Upload some people who asked you not to be contacted ever again. Put them there. They'll chill there. All good, right? relaxed. Another, bounce rate monitoring, right? So your bounce rate should always be like below 3%, below even 1%, right? If your bounce rate is below 1%, that's good. If your bounce rate is above 1%, like to 2%, you should do something to solve it. And if it's up to 3%, stop that campaign immediately, see where you messed up, validate emails again. You have to solve it, right? Bounce rate is serious. It's not good stuff, right? Mailbox removal. Right? So if any of your mailboxes do not pass placement tests, they're not doing great, they're landing in spam, just remove them. Do not hurt your whole pool, your whole infrastructure. Just remove the faulty mailboxes, spin up new ones, and for the time being, reach out to less prospects, because you don't want to influence your whole, infrastructure and have a couple of mailboxes destroy your whole infrastructure reputation, right? Just remove them. Be a savage when it comes to removing mailboxes, right? Tracking off, right? So we talked about this right here, right? Open rate tracking, link click tracking, right? You don't want any of that. You should send plain text only. You should validate emails always before sending out to anyone. Even if you buy a list, people say, okay, this is validated. You should still validate. Don't trust that. No, because you'll get increased bounce rate, right? You don't want to be sending out emails to invalid mailboxes, to catch-all mailboxes. Just send out emails to valid mailboxes, and that's that. Nothing else, right? Multi-language sequences. This is a good one, right? So you can send out multi-language sequences in Salesforge. I don't know if other cold email tools has it. But by sending multi-language sequences, what you do is basically translate your copy to different audiences so it reaches out in your prospect's native language. I once got an email in Lithuanian. I am Lithuanian, right? My eyes lit up like someone said labas, which means like hello, right? I was like, what in the world? Of course I replied. So the same happens if you reach out yourself. If you say hi in your native language, of course he will reply. Reply rate will skyrocket, right? So do that. ESP matching, another good thing. Like this changes from time to time, but usually what you can do is if you have Gmail or Outlook mailboxes, to use them, to use Gmail to reach out to Gmail, and to use Outlook to reach out to Outlook. You can do that again with apps like Salesforge. I don't know if other apps have this, but basically you do that. You'll find it out once validating. You'll see which mailboxes are which. And by doing ESP matching, you can increase your deliverability, right? The chances of landing in the primary mailbox. Okay, now metrics, right? You're sending out, you have amazing copy, your infrastructure is set up correctly, you're following all the sequence management tips I gave you. What results should you aim for and what should you do? So first, open rate. Now this can be kind of ignored because we are not tracking open rate, but if you are tracking open rate, you should have at least 70%. If you have less than that, no good, something is off, but you shouldn't track it, right? So we can ignore it. 5% reply rate. Now, the industry average is 1 to 2%. So you should go for 5%. That's 2.5 more than what most people have, right? You should go for that because that's what you can get if you're following everything correctly, and you should aim for that. If you're below that, well, it will vary from industry to industry, but that should be 5%. That's amazing. Now, out of this 5%, 20 should be positive reply rate. Right? So, I mean, well, maybe not 20%. It should be a lot higher, actually. People should be, at least half of the people that reply to you should be interested in your services. And 20% should book a call or something like that, right? But you should aim for a high reply rate, positive reply rate, right? I'd say 50% is good. And lastly, tip is to subscribe to Salesforge. As you can see, I gave you all of this value for free. Can you imagine what else I would give you if you watch our other videos and upcoming videos? Of course, they will be filled with value. So if you're not subscribed, well, you're going to land in the spam folder. He says that. I mean, I don't write the rules. That's exactly what Gmail says. It checks if you have spam words, if you have any attachments, your mailbox reputation, and it checks if you're subscribed to Salesforge, right? If you're not, you're landing in the spam folder. Now, I made another video that might be useful to you. You can decide yourself. I'll link it right here. You see the thumbnail, you see the title. Perhaps it's useful for you. If it is, I suggest you take a look at it. Also, please consider subscribing if you found this video valuable. Leave a comment what I should make a video about next, and have a good one, and peace.